We often think that plane crashes are catastrophic and unsurvivable events. Thanks to movies and 24/7 news channels, the enduring image of a plane crash usually involves an aircraft plummeting to the ground from 30,000 feet and obliterating everyone on board in a terrifying fireball. Before watching the video, please hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications bell for future uploads.
Channel 1 Presents. Ten tips that could save your life in a plane crash. While the odds of being involved in a plane crash may be slim, they're not zero. If it happened to you, would you know what to do to increase your chances of walking away? In this video we're going to offer research-backed advice from Ben Sherwood's The Survivors Club on what you can do to make it out of a plane crash alive. You've only got 90 seconds to get out. Understanding this is the key ingredient to surviving, and will frame all the other tips in this video. If you've survived the crash landing, you have a pretty good chance of getting out of the airplane alive. But, you only have 90 seconds to do so. You see, the thing that kills most passengers in a plane crash isn't the actual impact, it's the fire that typically engulfs the plane afterwards. Folks may be surprised they survive the impact, and become complacent about other dangers. People vastly underestimate how quickly a fire can spread and consume an airplane. Surveys show that most people think they actually have about 30 minutes to get out of a burning plane. The reality is that it takes, on average, just 90 seconds for a fire to burn through the plane's aluminum fuselage and consume everything and everyone in it. If that sounds scary, it should. You need to be motivated to get your rear end out of the plane. Be fit. The FAA has rigorously studied and crunched the numbers on airplane crash survivors, as well as tested nearly 2,500 people in simulated evacuations to find out the type of person who typically survives. Their results? Young, slender men have the best odds of surviving a plane crash. Old, fat women have the worst odds, sorry and Myrtle. The FAA has found that differences in age, gender, and growth account for 31% of the difference between people's evacuation times. Escaping a plane crash requires you to maneuver quickly through narrow aisles with luggage and wreckage strung about. You may even have to throw blockages out of your way. You then have to slip through an emergency exit that may only be 20 inches wide. Kind of hard to do if you're fat and out of shape. Fly in bigger planes if possible. If you have the choice between flying in a puddle jumper or a 737, choose the 737. According to FAA investigations, larger planes have more energy absorption in a crash, which means you're subjected to less deadly force, and that may equate to a better survival rate. Remember the 5-row rule. According to the folks who dedicate their lives to studying plane crashes, the statistics are inconclusive because every plane crash is different. Sure, many crashes are nose first, thus making the back of the plane safer, but several are tail first or wing first. You just don't know what kind of crash you'll be in. Instead of worrying about whether your seat is near the back, focus on finding a seat near an exit. According to researcher Ed Galea, those who survive a plane crash typically only have to move an average of 5 rows to escape. Beyond 5 rows, the chance of getting out alive decreases. The best seat to have is in the exit row, as you'd be the first one out should you need to exit. If you can't snag that seat, go for the aisle. Not only do you have easier access to the lavatory during flight, you also have a 64% chance of survival compared to the 58% chance you'd have sitting in a window seat. Also avoid bulkhead rows. Sure, you have more legroom, but the walls don't give as much as seats when you collide with them in a crash. Overcome the normalcy bias with an action plan. The normalcy bias causes our brains to assume that things will be predictable and normal all the time. When things aren't normal, it takes our brain a long time to process this. Instead of springing to action when something unexpected happens, our brain kind of shrugs and figures that what is going on can't be so bad. because truly bad events are so out of the ordinary. Investigators have discovered that normalcy bias has caused many unnecessary deaths in plane crashes. Instead of taking immediate action after a crash, people sort of mill around. Many will even start looking for their carry-on luggage before getting to the exit. Read the safety card and listen to the flight attendants. Another thing you can do to overcome the normalcy bias is to read through the safety card as well as listen to the flight attendants when they give the pre-flight safety spiel. Just because you've amassed enough frequent flyer miles to circumnavigate the globe 1,000 times, you're definitely not off the hook. You may think you're justifiably confident, but you're probably complacent. In a report published a few years ago, the FAA found that frequent flyers were the least informed on what to do and most susceptible to the normalcy bias in the event of a plane crash. Rereading the safety card will remind you where the nearest exits are and what to do during a crash landing. As you read through the safety guidelines, formulate your action plan. Remember the +3-8 rule. In the aviation world, +3-8 refers to the first 3 minutes after takeoff and the last 8 minutes before landing. According to flight crash investigators, close to 80% of all plane crashes occur during this time frame. In between those times, the chances of a plane crash occurring drop dramatically. Thus, if you want to up your chances of survival, you need to be extra vigilant and ready to take action during the first 3 minutes after takeoff and the last 8 minutes before landing. Here are some suggestions from the Survivors Club on what to do and not do during +3-8. Don't sleep. Make sure your shoes are on and secured. If you're traveling with your wife or girlfriend, make sure she's wearing flats and not high heels. It's hard to run in stilettos. Don't drink before getting on a plane. You want to be fully present in the event of a crash. Make sure your seatbelt is securely fastened, low and tight. Go over your action plan. You don't need to be paranoid during this time, just vigilantly relaxed. Put on your oxygen mask as soon as it drops. Airplane cabins are pressurized so you can breathe normally at 30,000 feet. When a cabin loses pressure, there's so little air at high altitudes that getting oxygen to your bloodstream is next to impossible. That's where oxygen masks come in. They pump pure oxygen into your nose and mouth so that you can get the air you need. In an event where the mask drops from above, put it on as soon as it drops. According to passenger studies, most folks think they can survive an hour without a mask after a plane loses pressure. You actually just have a few seconds. Just a few seconds of oxygen deprivation can cause mental impairment. If you want to get out of a crashed airplane alive, you'll want all your mental faculties intact when it lands. Also, follow the safety guidelines of securing your mask first before helping others secure theirs. You're pretty much useless to others if you're not getting oxygen to your brain. Assume brace position. I always thought the brace positions were kind of silly. There's no way that curling up in a ball would help you survive in a plane crash. But research has shown that brace positions do indeed up the chances of survival in an emergency crash landing. The positions help reduce the velocity of your head when it inevitably slams into the seat in front of you. Moreover, they help minimize limb flailing. Also, make sure your seatbelt is securely fastened, low and tight, over your lap. Those bad boys are designed to withstand 3,000 pounds of force, which is about 3 times as much as your body could handle without passing out. You can trust them. Forget your carry-on luggage, remember the kids. Alright. The plane has crash-landed and you're still alive. Time to get to those exits as fast as you can. Remember, you only have 90 seconds. Believe it or not, you need to be reminded to forget your carry-on luggage. It will slow you down and block others' escape, and it may injure you or someone else if you try to get down the very steep inflatable slides with it. You can get another iPad when you return safely to your home. In your rush to get out of the plane, don't forget your kids. That actually happens. Your brain does stupid things and disasters. Keep reminding yourself, I have kids. I have kids. I have kids. Ideally, you should have a plan with your wife and kids on who goes with you in case of an emergency exit. Have any of you been involved in a plane crash? Did you notice normalcy bias take hold of passengers? What do you think helped you escape alive? Share with us in the comments. Thanks for watching. Like and share this video with your friends.